The morning it began, the sky was the color of wet ash, and Daniel Harper felt the weight of another unfinished life pressing against his chest as he tightened his grip on his daughter's small hand. Every weekday at exactly 6:40 a.m., he walked the same cracked sidewalk, past the same rusted bus stop sign, carrying the same quiet exhaustion that had lived in his bones since the night everything fell apart. He was a single father not by choice, but by survival, and every step he took that morning felt like proof that he was still standing when so much of him had wanted to disappear. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of ordinary people doing good in small moments, take a second right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them. Daniel was 36 years old, with tired eyes that always looked older than his face, and hands roughened by years of factory work. His wife, Emily Harper, had died 5 years earlier after a sudden illness that no one saw coming and no one could stop. One moment she had been laughing in their kitchen, teasing him about burning toast, and the next she was gone, leaving behind a quiet house, unpaid bills, and a 4-year-old daughter named Lily who still waited for her mother to come home every night. Daniel had learned quickly that grief did not come in waves. It came in chores, in lunchboxes, in bedtime stories read with a lump in the throat, in mornings like this one when survival itself felt like a full-time job. That was the morning he first noticed her. She sat on the cold metal bench at the bus stop, shoulders hunched, hands folded tightly in her lap, as if holding herself together required constant effort. She looked to be in her early 30s, wearing a thin gray coat that was far too light for the season, her dark hair pulled back in a loose, careless knot. Her face was pale, and there was something about her stillness that made Daniel slow his steps without knowing why. She did not ask for help. She did not look at him. She simply sat there, eyes fixed on the pavement, as if waiting for something that never arrived. Daniel did not think of himself as a hero. He barely thought of himself at all anymore. But something inside him, something shaped by loss and long nights of wondering how he would make it through another day, told him to stop. He reached into his jacket pocket, pulled out the extra breakfast bar he always carried for Lily in case she refused her cereal, and gently placed it on the bench beside the woman before continuing on his way. He did not wait for thanks. He did not even look back. He simply walked on, Lily chatting softly about a dream she had forgotten halfway through describing it. The next morning, the woman was there again. Same bench, same posture, same hollow stillness. And again, Daniel left something small behind. A cup of hot coffee this time, bought with money he really should have saved. The mornings became a quiet ritual neither of them acknowledged. He left food, sometimes gloves, sometimes a scarf Lily had outgrown. She always accepted it silently, nodding once, never speaking, never meeting his eyes for more than a fleeting second. Daniel told himself it was nothing, just a habit, just something decent people did. But slowly, without realizing it, those moments became the most human part of his day. Life did not get easier around him. The factory cut hours. Bills piled up. Lily grew older and began asking questions he did not know how to answer, like why her mother had not come back and whether people who left could still see them. Daniel did his best, pouring love into his daughter even when he felt empty himself. Some nights, after Lily fell asleep clutching her stuffed rabbit, Daniel sat alone at the kitchen table, staring at the wall, wondering if he was failing her in ways she was too young to see. And every morning, there was the woman at the bus stop. Weeks passed, then months, seasons changed. Her face became familiar to him in the way landmarks do, something constant in a world that felt dangerously unstable. Sometimes she looked a little stronger. Sometimes she looked worse, thinner, eyes darker with fatigue. Once, after a particularly harsh storm, Daniel noticed her shoes were soaked through, and without thinking, he left behind a pair of sturdy boots he had barely worn. She looked up at him that morning, really looked at him, and for a split second he felt something sharp and strange, like recognition flickering behind her eyes. Then it was gone. One morning, the bench was empty. Daniel felt a surprising ache in his chest. He told himself it was ridiculous, that people came and went, that this was none of his business. But the emptiness of that bench haunted him all day. He caught himself glancing toward it even when he was nowhere near the bus stop, as if some part of him feared that silence meant something terrible had happened. The next day, she returned, and relief washed over him in a way that startled him. It was nearly a year after that first gray morning when everything changed. Daniel was running late, Lily half asleep against his side, the world still wrapped in the quiet blue of early dawn. The woman was there as always, but something was different. She stood when she saw him approach, her hands trembling, her breath shallow. Daniel slowed, concern knitting his brow, already reaching into his pocket for what he had brought that day. She stepped closer than she ever had before, close enough that he could see the fine lines at the corners of her eyes, the faint scar along her jaw. And then she spoke, her voice barely more than a breath, heavy with something that made Daniel's chest tighten in confusion and unease. She told him he did not remember her. The words hit him like cold water. For a moment, the world seemed to tilt. Daniel searched her face, truly searched it, feeling something stir deep in his memory. Images surfaced unbidden. A rainy night years ago. A highway slick with water. Headlights blinding. A crash. A scream. He staggered back slightly, his heart pounding as the pieces slid into place. Her name was Sarah Mitchell. Years earlier, on the worst night of Daniel's life, the night Emily died, there had been another car on that road. Another family torn apart by the same accident. Emily had not survived. Sarah had, but her husband had not. In the chaos that followed, Daniel had been swallowed by his own grief, his own loss, barely aware of anyone else's pain. He remembered signing papers, answering questions, holding Lily as doctors spoke in careful, distant tones. He remembered nothing of Sarah beyond a vague impression of a woman crying somewhere nearby. But Sarah remembered him. She remembered seeing him in the hospital corridor, broken and shaking, trying to be strong for his child. She remembered wanting to say something, anything, but being too shattered herself. After the accident, her life unraveled. Medical bills drained her savings. Depression stole her job. Pride kept her silent as everything slipped away until she found herself with nowhere to go but that bench at the bus stop near the factory where Daniel worked. She had recognized him the first morning he stopped. Recognized his walk, his face, the quiet sorrow he carried. She had never expected help. Never asked for it, but day after day, he had shown up, offering kindness without questions. Without judgment, without knowing he was slowly saving the woman whose life had been broken on the same night as his. Daniel felt tears burning his eyes as understanding settled over him. All this time, he had thought he was giving something small, something insignificant. He had not known he was part of a circle closing, of a wound finally beginning to heal. From that morning on, things changed. Not all at once, not magically, but slowly, steadily, the way real healing happens. Daniel helped Sarah find resources, shelters, work. He introduced her to Lily, who took to her instantly, slipping her small hand into Sarah's with easy trust. Sarah began to smile again, tentative at first, then brighter, like sunlight breaking through long-held clouds. Daniel, in turn, found something easing inside himself, a sense that perhaps pain did not have the final word. Years later, that bus stop bench was gone, replaced by a small park where children played and commuters hurried past without knowing what had once happened there. Daniel and Sarah stood side by side one afternoon, watching Lily run across the grass, her laughter clear and strong. They were not the same people they had been before. Loss had shaped them, carved deep lines into their lives. But kindness had stitched something new from the broken pieces. If this story has touched your heart even a little, if it reminded you that small acts matter more than we ever realize, please take a moment to like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Your engagement helps keep stories of hope and humanity alive. And before this video ends, we ask you to comment just one thing. Have you ever helped someone without knowing how much it mattered, or been helped when you needed it most? Because sometimes, the greatest miracles are not loud or dramatic. Sometimes they sit quietly on a cold bench at dawn, waiting for someone kind enough to stop.